All rise. Face the east. 5 fingers on the left, 2 fingers on the right. Recite the Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
The Father of love.
The Father of
The
love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
And my salvation.
By night.
By night.
And by day.
And by day.
Through his holy prophet.
Through his holy prophet.
Drew Ali.
Drew Ali.
Amen.
Amen.
Praise Allah. First, I'd like to rise and give praises to Allah. I give honors to his holy and divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to all true and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, etc. I give honors to the forerunner, Marcus Messiah Garvey, for paving the way. I give honor to all past Supreme Grand Advisors and moderators of the Moorish Science Temple of America. In concession, Brother C. Kirkman Bey, Brother F. Nelson Bey, and Brother J. Blakely Bey. I give honors to the past Grand Sheikh and moderator of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Brother R. Love Il. May Allah be pleased. I give honors to the present Grand Sheikh and moderator, Brother R. Jones Bey, and his assistant, Brother P. Chase Ill. I give honors to the Grand National Chairman, Sister S. Russell Dunbar Bey, and her assistant, Brother B. Bell Bey. I give honors to the Grand Governor of the State of New York, Brother C. Herc Bey, and his assistant, Brother K. Richardson Ill. I give honors to all national, state, and local officials, past, present, and future, all sheiks and sheikesses and all their official staffs. I give honors to all guests and members. I give honors to our Grand Sheik in Temple number 34, Brother Y. Cyrus Hill, and his assistant, Brother W. Clendon Bey. I give honors to our chairman, Brother C. Ferguson L. I give honors to the assistant secretary, Sister B. Rees Bey. I give honors to our ministers, Sister C. Silzil and Brother L. Serrano Bey. I give honors to all the members and guests, wayfarers, seekers after truth. I give honors to our 2 flags, the American flag and the Moorish flag, which is the 5 highest principles known to man: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I give honors to our charter, which give us the right to practice and promote Islamism in America without molestation. I give honors to all the literature and the remedies that the prophet has brought for uplifting fallen humanity. I give honors to each and every one of you. I give honors to man, because when man honors man, he honors his Father God, Allah. I'll now take a read from the laws. Salvation, our God, unity. The Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is a holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and parcel of this government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of this said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, Black people, or Ethiopians. Because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and the southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father God, Allah. Noble Drew Ali, founder, Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my God, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. The Moorish Science Temple of America, Home Office, 2905 5th Street, Southeast, Washington, D.C., 20032. Thus, I read the 7 acts from the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. I'll now bring your attention over to the great meeting is on. Quran questions for Moorish Americans. Page 7. Question is an additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Act 1. Grand sheiks and governors and heads of all temples, all businesses. Each said temple must be approved by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Before acting upon any member, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the member to sacrifice finance, etc., that will cause the support of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under heavy restrictions, etc., by the Prophet or the Grand Sheikh. Act 2. All members are to attend their DEP meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second, he will be fined $1, which will go on your emergency fund. If members is working, his monthly dues must be paid, and if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish Uplifting Fund because it takes finance to uplift the nation. Act 3. It is lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able in finance, to aid me in saving the nation, and if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I will have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4. All members, while making a public speech, must not use all members will, while making a public speech, must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5. All members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire, and let every member exercise his 5 cents who is able to do so, because out from your Sunday schools comes the guiders of the nation. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and that they are not Negroes, colored folks, Black people, or Ethiopians. Because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during a time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and the southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Thus I read the 7 additional acts from the Quran questions for Moorish Americans. I'll now bring your attention over to the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Drew Ali, by the guidance of his father God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his father God Allah. I'm going to take a read from the divine instructions from the Holy Prophet, chapter 28. That concludes 27, right, Granchi? Oh, he's not there. Okay. So I'll take a read.
Yes, Sister Berry Bay.
Praise Allah. Holy instructions from the prophet, master and servant. Chapter 28. Repine not, O man, at the state of servitude. It is the appointment of Allah, and have many advantages. It removeth thee from cares and solicitude in life. The honors of a servant is his fidelity. His highest virtues are submission and obedience. Be patient, therefore, under reproof of thy master, and when he rebuketh thee, answer not again. The silence of thy resignation shall not be forgotten. Be studious of his interests, be diligent in his affairs, and faithful to the trust which he reposeth in thee. Thy time and thy labor belong unto him. Defraud him not thereof, for he payeth thee for them. And thou who art a master, be just to thy servant if thou expecteth from his fidelity, and reasonable in thy commands if thou expecteth ready obedience. The spirit of a man is in him. Severity and rigor may create fear, but can never command love. Mix kindness with reproof, and reason with authority. So shall thou admonishing takes place in his heart, and his duty shall become his pleasure. He shall serve thee faithfully from the motive of gratitude. He shall obey thee cheerfully from the principle of love, and fail thou not in return to give his diligence and fidelity their proper rewards. Thus I read chapter 28, Master and Servant. Our meeting is officially open according to Prophet Noble Drew Ali's laws. I want to welcome each and every one of you to our Sunday school meeting. I pray that you will go home with something that can stimulate your thoughts, your words, and your deeds, and help you through your week. May Allah bless you. Peace. I'll call in a Sunday school instructor for today, Brother W. Clinton and me. Praise Allah.
Islam, Moorish Americans.
Islam.
I give praise to the great God Allah, the Father of the universe. I give honor to the author, the creator, and the governor of the world. I give honor to our illustrious prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honor to all things that the chairman, assistant chairman gave honor to. I give honor to all of you on the line on the Zoom call tonight. Islam.
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 Praise Allah. Another Sunday school. Another Quran class. Here we go. So let's see. We have on the line. Let's see what I got. I got Brother P. Voquez Il. Islam more.
Islam, Grand Sheikh.
Islam, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well on the path. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine, fine. What path are you on, Mo?
Path of light.
The path of light?
Yes.
Okay, where's the path leading you to?
The east.
It's leading you to the east.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Praise Allah. What do you hope to find in the east?
Myself and Allah.
Yourself and Allah. All right, praise Allah. Praise Allah. I hope that path works out for you, you know. You know, there's another path, right? Might be similar path. You know, they talk about in the Holy Quran of Mecca. It's a path
Islam.
that leads to paradise and don't lead to the fire. So I'm pretty happy that the path you're on is not going to lead to the fire. I'm pretty sure about that. But we're going to get on that path that leads us to paradise. I have a question for you. I'm going to read from Act 5. Additional laws. All members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school. And the teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire. And let every member exercise his 5 senses. Who's able to do so? Good out from your Sunday school. Come the guiders of the nation. What are the 5 senses?
Sight, smell, touch, taste. Sight, smell, touch, taste. And hearing.
Okay. So how do we exercise taste in the temple? Maybe there's some other senses. You know what I'm saying? You ever heard? Because the senses that you mentioned were the outer senses, right? We're all familiar with that. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. You ever heard of the 5 inner senses?
Yes.
Okay, so one of the inner senses is common sense. You familiar with that, right?
Yes.
All right, and then an imaginative sense, being able to imagine things, right?
Islam.
All right, thinking, right? The sense of thinking, right? Instinctive, right? Instinct. Something tells you left, right, up, down, right? Something, you have instinct, right?
Good.
And then you have this one that's very important called retentive, that you retain that which you gain, right?
Islam.
All right, praise Allah. So we want to think about that more. We want to exercise not only those 5 outer senses, but the 5 inner senses. Brother Velcrezia, who made you?
Allah made me.
Allah made you. That's the answer. The question: who made you?
Allah.
Who is Allah?
Allah is the Father of the universe.
Can we see him?
No.
Where's the nearest place we can meet him?
In the heart.
How do you do that? How do you meet Allah in your heart?
By meditating, sitting still and listening to the still small voice.
Thank you so much. Thank you for participating. Thank you for joining. I'll get back to you in a second. Islam. Let's
Thank
go
you.
back. Let's see who else we have. I see we have Sister B. Reeves Bay. Islam.
Islam. First, I want to rise giving all praises to who we refer to at times as being a great God, Allah. I give high honor to his holy and divine prophet, Noble Jew Ali. I give honor to the forerunner, Marcus Messiah Garvey. I give honors to everything that pertains to Islam and to each and every one of you that's on this call. And with that, I say peace.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. Islam, I heard you was on a national conference call.
Yes, last Sunday.
Oh, with the Grand Sheik Brother Jones Bay?
Yes.
Well, praise Allah. I'm sure you did Temple 34. I didn't get a chance to see it yet, but I'm sure you did the right thing, right?
Yes.
All right. Praise Allah. I'm so happy.
Praise Allah.
You keep up the good work, all right, sister?
Yes.
All right. Couple of questions. Who is Noble Jew Ali?
He is Allah's prophet.
What is a prophet?
A prophet is a thought of Allah manifested in the flesh.
What is the duty of a prophet?
To save nations from the wrath of Allah.
Who is the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America?
Noble Jew Ali.
What year was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded?
1913 AD.
Where?
Newark, New Jersey.
How long do you think you're going to spend in the Moorish Science of America?
Probably. As long as I guess I'm here.
Oh, you mean the rest of your life?
Yeah.
So you're a lifer?
Yes.
Oh, wow, that's a blessing. That's a blessing because you're a young sister. So if Allah bless you with a long life, like 90 something years or something, you could say that, oh, I tell them all, I've been in the temple 70 years. Praise Allah. So I'm glad
Praise
you're in the
Allah.
temple. And we're going to talk in a little while. We're going to talk about why people in the temple. All right. So let us go further. We're going to see who else we have on the line. I think we got Brother Peter Zeal. Brother Peter Zeal, Islam more. But J. Peter Zeal. Islam more. Can you hear me, brother man?
Hey, maybe let him know.
You hear him, Grand Chief?
I can hear him, but he sounds like his bandwidth is going in and out.
All right, brother Peter Zeal, try a different part of the room or wherever you're at, move around. I'll get someone else because you come in a little kind of broken up a little bit. We're gonna go to Brother Turner Bay. Brother K. Turner Bay, Islam.
Islam.
Islam, how are you doing today, brother man?
All's well.
All's well. Who made you?
Allah.
Where is Noble Drew Ali born?
In the state of North Carolina, 1886.
What is his nationality?
Moorish American.
What is your nationality?
Moorish American.
I don't feel the power, Mo. You all right?
All's well, Mo.
All right. Praise Allah. Why are we Moorish Americans?
Because we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America.
For what purpose is the Moorish Science Temple America founded?
For the uplifting of fallen humanity.
Oh, praise Allah. Thank you so much, Mo. Praise Allah. Thank you for that. Let us move on. We got Brother P. Miles Bay. Islam Mo. Brother P. Miles Bay. Islam.
Islam, AGS.
How you doing, Mo?
Islam. I'm feeling great. How you?
Good. You ever been involved in sports before?
I played just a little bit of sports in like junior high school.
Before the game, you get all riled up, you get all, pumped up, you get ready to get in the game. You get yourself all geared up. You know what I mean? All right. This way you could perform your best. So praise Allah. Good to have you on. Brother Miles Bay. What does Bay mean?
Well, first I rise, give praise to Allah, Father of the universe. I give honor to the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honor to the Forerunner, Marcus Garvey, and I give honor to everything pertaining to Islam. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I think it's like ruler of land.
I don't know, bro. I don't know. I'm Brother Clendenin Bay. Oh, I got a Bay too. Oh man. I guess we should know that, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, let's ask the eel. See what the eel say, because they talk about the bays. Brother Serrano Bay. Islam, Brother Serrano Bay. Brother Voquez eel. Islam.
Islam.
Brother Serrano Bay, you there, Mo? I'm kind of going in and out. We'll go back to Brother Voquez eel. Islam. Mo.
Islam.
What does Bay mean?
Bay to me means enforcer of the law.
Enforcer of the law. Okay. What does eel mean?
Islam.
Ill means the maker of the law, the creator of the law.
Oh, okay. That's why we on this conference call, Moors. All the Moors you're able to share in just because I didn't call your name. You know what I mean? We're talking about the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. This is our Quran class conference call, our Sunday school. This is where we ask these questions. We don't always get an opportunity. All right, this is the official temple call. So you get to ask these questions. You got a bay on your name. You got an eel on your name. All right, let's go to Brother,
Islam, Grand Sheik, if you can hear me.
go ahead, Mo.
I was gonna say, I think I heard Brother Turner Bay chiming in on that particular question.
Praise Allah, Brother Turner Bay.
Islam. I want to rise and give praises to Allah, honors to the Prophet, honors to the forerunner of the Prophet. And I'd like to give honors to everything the instructor gave honors to. I give honor to everybody on the call. I give honor to man because when man honors man, he honors his Father God Allah. Islam.
Yes, sir.
I was taught Bay is the governor. L is the lawgiver, which is also short for the Elohim. Islam.
Islam. Praise Allah. Praise Allah. So we see the El, we see the Elohim, right? We see the Bay. You know, the Bays was known as governors, rulers of the land. Right? So you know, we see the divine part and we see the manifest part. But we all have these qualities in it. Doesn't mean that because you're a Bay, you don't have the eel qualities, or you're eel, you don't have the Bay qualities. It's just the qualities that's most prominent. Islam?
Islam.
All right? It's just like masculine and feminine. You know what I'm saying? Just like up and down. All these things is variations of the same truth. You just want to have the right proportions and be in harmony with the universe. Islam?
Islam.
All right? So praise Allah for that. So we go back to Brother Miles Bay. Islam, Brother P. Miles Bay. How did the Prophet begin to uplift the Moorish Americans? Brother P. Miles Bay.
Islam, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. How did the Prophet begin to uplift the Moorish Americans?
By teaching them to be themselves.
What is our religion?
Islamism.
Is that a new or old-time religion?
Old-time religion.
What kind of flag is the Moorish?
It is a red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center.
What do the 5 points represent?
Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
How old is our flag?
It is over 10,000 years old.
Which is our holy day?
Friday.
Why?
Because Friday is the day on which man was formed in flesh, and it was on a Friday when he departed out of flesh.
How long you plan on staying in the temple?
For life.
Oh, another life. All right. All right. Praise Allah. Good to have you on. Good to hear your voice.
You too, you know what I'm saying?
Islam, Grand Sheik?
Islam, yeah, if I could add, I wanted to add something to that part of the last part of the conversation about El and Bay.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably a good place to put for ill. And first, I rise and give praise to the great God, Allah. I give high honor to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. The Hittites are associated with the Persians, and there's a god El was a god of the Canaanites, god of the ancient Canaanites. And then you also have Abraham worshipped El. You know, the early Hebrews worshiped the god that was called El. And there's the name El Shaddai, actually, which means El of the mountains. El Elyon, God, which is an El of Bethel. You know, all different names for God in different parts of the world. Elohim is plural of El, and you'll see that preserved in the names like Israel or Ishmael, even the name angel. Most of the names of the angels, you know, end with El, E-L. You know, so I just wanted to add that in there as well, since we were talking about it. Peace.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. Thank you so much, Grand Sheik. All right, we're gonna go to Brother. We'll go to Sister Berry Bay. It's Sister L. Berry Bay. Islam Sheikus. Islam. All right. Sister Elberry Bay. Let's go to Brother Anderson Bay. It's on Brother Anderson Bay.
Islam Grand AGS.
How you doing, sir?
All is well. Praise Allah. All is well. And
We
first
praise-
I rise and give praise to the great God Allah. And I'm going to borrow this from the sisters. I want to give high praise to his love thought, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So I want to give honors to the forerunner for the Prophet, Brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I want to give high honors to all past and present Grand Sheiks and moderators of More Science Temple of America. Give honors to our Grand Sheik, Brother Y. Cyrus Hill, and his assistant, Brother W. Clennon Bay. So I want to give high honors to our Mufti, Brother T. Berry Bay. Give honors to our chairman and his assistant, Sister Elberry Bay, to our Sheik and Sheikesses, and everything that is pertaining to Islamism. Peace.
Praise Allah, praise Allah. You said all is well. You know what chapter I started thinking about as soon as you said that?
You know what, Grace? I know that instruction you're talking about when you say put your hand in Allah's hand and all is well.
Yes.
I don't know that instruction it's specifically, but I remember you pointed that to me, and that instruction speaks to my heart all the time.
Well, we're going to go over it today. And today, January 31st, 2021, you're going to always remember it's in chapter 10 because you got 10 fingers. Okay?
Yes.
You got 10 toes. The mathematics works on a decimal point of 10. So you're going to be thinking 10. You're going to be thinking 10. You're going to be thinking chapter 10. And then you're going to be thinking about number 23, instruction 23 on page 17. And he goes straight up to him and says, my father God Allah. And then he lays his hands in Allah's own hand, and all is well. Chapter 10, instruction 23. He goes straight up to him and says, my father God Allah. And then he lays his hands in Allah's own hand, and all is well. You know, and sometimes I use that phrase, my father God Allah, like sometimes I'll look at who I'm talking to, and I'll be able to say, you know, my father, and they understand what I'm saying. I'll look at who I'm talking to and I'll say God, and they understand who I'm saying. I'll look at somebody and see who they are, and I'll say Allah, and they know who I'm talking about. Then others I can say my father God Allah. You know, in communicating, it's not about trying to trip somebody up. Then you're messing up communication. The communication is whether you speak Japanese, I speak Italian, whether you're using signs or using symbols, is that we understand where we're coming from. You know what I'm saying? If I use sign language to tell you to stop, or I use a stop sign, or I say it in a different language, the main thing is I want you to stop for whatever the reason may be. All right, so praise Allah. We have it's like this universal key, and I'm sure you understand what I'm saying, brother. You know, it's like you have this universal key. It fits all the doors. Now their key don't fit all the doors, but your key fits all the doors. You see, it's like when you get locked out your apartment, you call on a super. He doesn't come up there with 300 keys for each apartment door. He comes up there with the universal key. You know, that key that unlocks all of those doors. You know, so praise Allah for the Prophet. Praise Allah to have you on. Who was Jesus?
He was a prophet of Allah.
Where was he born?
In Bethlehem of Judah, in the house of David.
You see how Allah gave us extra? You know, it's like a beautiful thing. Like, you know, you get the ice cream and then you get the whipped cream and the cherry on top. It's like, you know, you got extra, you know, but he could have just said Bethlehem. You know, he gave us some information, but it seemed like the Prophet, you know, I could always imagine like the Prophet just like in that state of, you know, I'm an Egyptian Arab, and I'm here to help the planet and help this group of people, and I want to give them whatever Allah guides me to give them. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of instructions and knowledge and wisdom that he could give us. But it's like a pharmacist. He turns around, he looks at all the drugs, and he say, well, what do the Moors need? You know, and they need, they don't need that. They need a little bit of this. They need a little bit of that. And so he's saying of Judah. So because he said that, it makes me like, why does he mention that? It says, Brother Kanenebe, maybe you should pay attention that he was from the tribe of Judah. And if I find out about the tribe of Judah, I'm finding out about the 12 tribes of Israel. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna try to find out the importance of Judah, you know, as well as the other tribes, but he mentions Judah. And then he says, in the house of David. And my common sense is kicking in, is saying, well, he don't mean like David fit the physical house. He's talking about him being born. He's being born of Judah. He's being born in the house of David. You know, so when we talk about nationality and birthrights, this definitely ties into some birthrights there. You know what I'm saying? It's tying into that he had some birthrights because of the tribe and because of the house. All right. So it's very interesting when we start reading in chapter 2 and talk about the infant claimant to the throne. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, because we do, I mean, as Moorish Americans, we do study these teachings, and we know that as we get high and we ascend into our heavens, that we realize that we're still here on this earth plane, where what house you're born into does matter. You know, to what tribe you're born into does matter. And when the prophet talks about the birthrights of the Moorish Americans, you know, and the nationality, we need to have a truth about that. So it's just very interesting more that the prophet gives us more than where, you know, who was his father and mother?
Joseph and Mary.
Will you give in brief the line, genealogy through which Jesus came?
Some of the great fathers through which Jesus came are Abraham, Boaz by Ruth, Jesse, King David, Solomon, Hezekiah, and Joseph by Mary.
Notice he uses the adjective great fathers. You know, I think that, and one of the things we talk about being humble, humility. I don't think they're saying, or he's saying, the prophet saying in a vain sense, if you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, like that. No, he's like, their works, what they did were great. You know what I'm saying? And their humbleness was great, you know? You know, when we talk about the patriarchs and matriarchs, we're not just talking about all the mothers and fathers. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about some of the main women, some of the main fathers. You know, when you talk about father, you say Noah. Oh yeah, that's a main one there. You know, when you say Adam, oh, that's a main father there. You know, when you say Abraham, you know, that's different than you say Brother Kanenebe. I'm a father, but you know, I'm just saying like in the sense of what he's saying. You know, when you talk about Ruth, you know, I think the Prophet Muhammad talks about a couple of the great women. I think he mentions Mary. I think Mary is one of the great women that the Prophet Muhammad talks about. And so these are the matriarchs, these are the patriarchs that we're talking about. These are the great fathers. They don't mention all of Jesus' fathers, just some of these great fathers. Why did Allah send Jesus to this earth?
To save the Israelites from the iron hand oppression of the pale-skinned nations of Europe who were governing a portion of Palestine at that time.
Now that's interesting because what we're going to talk about a little bit today is why did Allah send Brother Anderson Bey to this earth? You see, because that's a beautiful. Why did Allah send Sister L. Berry Bey to this earth? You know, why did Allah send Brother Cyrus Hill to this earth? All of us on this line, why are we here? You know, and we could just sit back and enjoy the party, you know, which many of us know what that's about. Many of us have participate and continue to participate in the party aspect of it, touching, seeing, feeling, having a good time while we're here. But why did the Father send us? Why did we incarnate another time? Why do we find ourselves drawn? The prophet says, those that were with me 2,000 years ago are with me today. So thank you so much, Brother Anderson Bey. Islam? Islam. All right, so I see our assistant chairman is back. Islam, Sister Berry Bey.
Islam, Brother Grand Sheik. I'm sorry about that. I was on an emergency phone call. So
No problem. No problem. I pray Allah, hopefully the emergency will work out. If not, you just call Allah up, Prophet up on the cell phone, you know. But we don't call the Prophet on the cell phone until we've done everything that we can do in our power.
That's right.
You know, so first we have our own individual, what we call ourselves. So you make sure you function, do everything you can do. Then you got your husband, your sister, your brother, you got your little family there, and then you all combined, and now you got more power. You know what I'm saying? It's not just you, it's you and the father and the children, and you got your extended family, and then you got your ancestors, you know, and then you got the angels, you got everything. And then, you know, if everything you did everything you can, that's when you make the call.
That's right.
Call up the prophet.
Wow.
And say, you know, we've done everything we can. But if you don't do everything you can, then, you know, you like really putting in that effort, you know.
That's right.
And that's what we want to do in the temple. Because we have different things in life that we strive for. You know, I always use women to young men because that's something they seem to strive for. You know, like if I tell them, oh, the temple meeting is 50 miles away. Oh, that's so far. And, you know, I don't know if I got transportation or whatever. But you tell them this beautiful woman wants to go out to dinner with them tonight. Oh, they're going to find a way to make that 50 miles work. You know what I'm saying? They got Uber, they're going to get their friend's car, they're going to get a ride because they motivated, you know? And we want to be motivated like that. I mean, if things like that can motivate you, then your salvation can motivate you. Race pride can motivate you. That you're not only helping your family and your friends, that you're helping Allah and the Prophet. That should be motivation for us.
Right.
Islam, sister. So let's continue. We're talking about the Prophet Jesus in Palestine. How long has that been?
About 2,000 years ago.
What was the nationality of Ruth?
Ruth was a Moabitess.
What is the modern name for Moabites?
Moroccans.
Where's the Moroccan Empire?
Northwest of Mexico.
What is the modern name for Mexican?
Africa.
Praise Allah. Thank you so much. Praise Allah. So we're going to get back to why Allah sent you to this earth in a second. We're going to open up that conversation because if you don't know your special purpose, hopefully we can help you find your purpose, or we can put you on the right path to find your purpose. But you don't want to walk around this earth plane not knowing what you're about, where you're going, and what you're supposed to be doing. So let us go to see. Let's do. We got is Brother Serrano Bay still there with us? Brother Serrano Bay, Islam.
Islam.
Islam Moore, how you doing?
Islam, all is well. First arising, I give all praise to the great God Allah. I give honor to His holy and divine Prophet Noble Jurah Ali and everything that pertains to Islam.
Praise Allah. I'm gonna start with Sister M. Serrano Bay because I hear her in the background, and we're gonna stop hearing her in the background and start hearing her in the foreground. Right? So pull her up close to the phone or get up near her. And I want to talk to my goddaughter there because she got a lot to say. I can't imagine when she starts talking in the temple, we might have to have extra time, Grand Sheik. Because that sister like to talk. And she got messages from Allah, I'm sure. So we're going to be sitting there. I can imagine we're going to be sitting there one day. She'll be like 9 years old, 10 years old. We'll be like, wow. You know, she's like, am I talking to her? And we'll be like, no, go ahead, keep on talking.
Praise Allah.
Praise Allah. Islam, Sister M. Serrano Bay. Islam, sister.
You said Islam? Yeah. Islam. Islam.
Islam, who made you? Yeah, who made you?
Allah.
Who made you? He's like, who is that picture? Is that Brother Clendenin, man? Who made you? Oh, okay. She's looking at her Pa Bay. You know, we all family. That's my grandfather name. Y'all could use it if y'all want. I know Brother Peters. Yeah, I see you. He's like, yo, I like that name. So one day if I hear one of your grandchildren calling you Pa Bay, I'm like, yeah, I was the original Pa Bay. Well, I don't even know that, but it sounds good. Praise Allah. The M. Serrano Bay. You keep on growing, and one day we'll hear you say, either on the Zoom call or in the temple, we'll hear you say Allah, and then you'll start saying it strong. And like every parent will be like smiling because they remember that moment, but praise Allah. Brother Serrano Bay, what is the modern name for Mexam?
Africa.
What is the title given to our ruler in Morocco?
Sultan.
Where do we get the name Jesus?
From the east.
From the east what? East St. Louis? Or what, East Long Island? Where, from the east, what does that mean?
Islam. I would assume from the Middle East.
We found it.
Oh, it says Middle East down there?
Yeah,
No, it doesn't.
It say Middle East?
Islam, no.
Or does it say Far East?
Just from the east.
Oh, from the east, okay. So if I said Far East, Brother Anderson, Bay, I see you looking, right? Far East, right? Well, we in China, right? When we say the Far East, we in China, Japan, right?
Yes.
Right. And then when we say Middle East, right? I think they're talking about like parts of like
Lebanon,
Iran, Iraq, besides the fact that Egypt, everyone knows Egypt's in Africa. So, they try to use that to get Egypt out of Africa. But yeah, so we got the Middle East, we got the Far East. So it says from the East. All right. So we want to think about that. Why is he telling us that? See, these are little things I like talking about the Anderson Bay about before. Like he gave us a little extra. What does it mean from the East? Why you just throw us that little something and go on? And he goes on to what does the name Jesus mean? But I'm like, I'm still vibrating out from the East. Like, why does he want me to know that? Is the East important?
That's an important part. That's an important place for Muslims all over the world.
Yeah.
That's what Holy City is. Our holy city.
Yes.
In the East.
Yes. And a lot of times, right, when you might have heard recently in the last couple of years politically, they talk about Western civilization and Western civilization being attacked.
Yes.
And that's maybe because the people you're trying to push Western civilization is from Eastern civilization. Maybe you're trying to force something on somebody that's not with that. So when you give them their free reign to choose, you see, so I'm not personally, I realize the prophet is telling us from the East, but then because we're Moorish Americans, we realize that the East implies the West. We're not going to go eastward without the West. You know what I'm saying? Just like Prince Ravana, he was from the East, seeking wisdom in the West. Who could tell me what chapter that's from?
6.
Who said that?
Brother Cyrus Hill.
Oh, Grand Sheik, you can't answer the questions more. Come on, Grand Sheik. Answer the question. Page number 11, chapter 6. All right. And it starts talking about a royal prince of India, Ravana in the south, was met at the Jewish feast. Ravana was a man of wealth. He was just, and with a band of Brahmin priests, sought wisdom in the West. So as a traveling man, they asked you where you're traveling. You're traveling east. But as a wise man, I'm also going to backtrack to the West now. All right? You can notice this sometimes in a funeral. I don't know if you noticed, they face the body to the West. So west representing sunset, east representing sunrise. Just something to think about. But praise Allah. Thank you so much, Moors. Let's see, we got sister. I'm gonna go back to Brother Peters here, because we couldn't hear you before, Moore. I know you got your mic. You can Islam, Moore?
Islam, brother, man. My apologies.
Much better.
Going through travels.
No problem. Praise Allah. How are you and the family?
All is well for the most part. All is well, you know, going through and getting through.
Going through, getting through, holding on, all of those different concepts work. You know, we use all of that. We got to mentally psych out the lower self. You know what I'm saying? You don't understand how tricky he is. And he knows you. He knows us so well. See, he's like, yo, I go there, I'll come around here, and I hit him like that, and brother then be done. He knows you. Whether it's your favorite fries, or you didn't get your way today, or you're stressed out, he knows you. He knows how to push your buttons.
Grab some bread.
You know, and he be working you. He be working you like a boxer. Yeah, hitting brother Connect, hitting with the jab. All right, he's blocking that, hitting with the uppercut. Work his bodies. Work. You know, it's amazing. You know that here you are like Jesus, and you the Son of the Most High. You the Master of the Masters, and he's still tempting you. He still ain't giving up, even though he got like the champ. You know, he's like, yo, I'm still going in there. You know, turn this stone to bread. Jump off the temple. Islam,
my apologies, Grand Sheikh. Jesus said, my lower self is strong, but many times am I held down by carnal life.
Yes.
So I can't think I'm any different from the prophet, man.
That's it. That's it. All you gotta do is learn those judo moves that the prophets teach you. You know what I'm saying? When the lower self comes, you do the quick move, and you get them down in a nice arm lock. And you let them know. Love used to say, take your devil out for a walk. And people think, what does that mean? You got to work it out in your mind. Remember, everything is happening in your mind. Everything is happening in your mind. This is the great jihad. You know what I'm saying? This is where it's happening. This is where the soldier never knows his strength is happening in his mind. Not that he's out here and he can lift 100,000 pounds and he can do. No, it's happening in your mind. And see, as the development of thought, you see what I'm saying? We gain strength. You know, with every victory, you're able to look back. That's what's so beautiful thing about living a certain amount of life in the years. You know, when you're 15, how many victories do you have? Right. Or do you even know if you had a victory? But you get to be like 30 or 40. You had a couple ups, some downs, some deaths, some tragedy. You start, you know, you made it through that, you start realizing that this is going to go on, but it's your technique on dealing with the different things that you get stronger in. So, you know, when death comes for the 10th time, you like, Islam death. I got it. You know what I'm saying? When hard times come and the money and all of that come, you be like, Islam. That's it.
Things start to look familiar.
75-cent cup of coffee and be satisfied and happy that I have a cup of coffee. I can't get my $3, $4 cup with the latte and the twist and all of that. I just be happy I got a little 75-cent coffee and my little butter roll and praise Allah that when the storm's over, I'll be conscious of what he gave me. You know. But I'm so glad to talk to you, Brother Peter. I have a few questions for you. I want to ask you, what does the name Jesus mean?
The name Jesus means justice.
Did the angel give to the child that was called Jesus a holy name?
Yes, but it cannot be used to those who are still slaves to sin.
Who are slaves to sin. That must be a messed up situation. You know? And when I think back, as much as you try to project that positive side of yourself, you think back, you're like, yeah, that was me. I don't know how many people on the conference call want to admit that they have been or continue to be, but it's just a matter of be real with yourself. I'm a slave to sin. You know, that right now, if they showed up with $2 million in a suitcase, I'd be like, I don't care who it is, my mama, whatever. I'm going for the 2 million. You know, I'm just saying it. People, it's just like, it's just be real. Because I don't have a price. Okay, so now you got 10 million in front of you.
That's real.
Oh, 10 million. Oh, you got, okay, let's just go for the billion. I'm gonna give you $1 billion to leave the temple. $1 billion, sister. You know what I'm saying? I mean, think about what you could do. And you could justify it too. Oh, I'm gonna help the temple. I'm gonna send a donation. Me leaving is you know, and that's how you start. That's how the lower stuff start getting you. Like, oh, I already got you thinking about it, huh?
Dang.
Already got you thinking. So what was your number? You know. So the thing about it is, we just have to be conscious of these things. So we don't want to be a slave. So we start pulling away. And what we've been talking about that chapter, right? The master of the house is more honorable than its walls. So we have to decide who the master is. Did the angel give to the child that was called a holy name? Yes, but it cannot be used by those who are slaves of sin. Islam, what is an angel?
An angel is a thought of Allah manifested in human flesh.
What are angels used for?
To send.
To carry
the messages of Allah to all four corners of the earth.
Four corners of the world to all nations.
The world and all nations. My apologies.
All right. So you got to go to the auto parts store and get some of that rust stuff. You rusty. You know what I'm saying? The berry bait. You spray that stuff on your bolts.
WD-40.
WD-40, just like the Tin Man and the Wizard of Oz. Because I know you know it, but you got a little rust up in there. You know, it's all right. It's like Brother Kandeleme over the years. Don't ask me no questions. I'm the one answering the questions, so I don't know the answers. The questions. I know the questions. The answers. I'm like, wow. I've been for 30 years. I'm answering the questions, but I'm not doing the answers. So you ask me, I'm gonna be getting the WD-42.
It's love, boy.
All right, but the bolts are still good. I still got the concept. Now you get to some temples now. I've been to some temples. You get a word wrong, an S wrong or something. They like, yo, back up more. So they not so free like that. But I understand.
So I gotta sharpen that saw.
You gotta sharpen that saw, get that grinder out and get that rust off. Praise Allah. All right, let's see. We got Islam. Who's speaking?
Islam, Sister Cecile, first I rise and give praise to Allah. I give honors to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and everything that our opening chairman give honors to, and all the Moors on the line and their contributions. Praise Allah. Islam?
Islam.
I was just gonna say, Pabe, Islam. So when you spoke about Jesus and where we get his name from, and it being from the East, I had looked at that and looked into it, and I tried to look up justice in different languages and see if I got Jesus, and I did all that other stuff. And I was just gonna say that because Israel, you see, Hebrew Israel, it's in the Middle East, but because he was from Bethlehem of Judah and the house of David, to the east would have been Moab. And so I was just saying that it's a Moabitess name.
It's very easy for a Moabite to say that. I got you. I got you. I can't refute you, you know. But you know how I'm kind of favorable to Moabites too, you know. I still got that German side, so don't you forget that. You see my mother and father up there. You know what I'm saying? Over above my shoulder there. That's World War II. But my nationality, in case you're worrying, is Moorish American. I'm a Moorish American. All right. And we talked about that. If you haven't seen the nationality talk that me and Brother Hopkins Bay did, you know, we were able to talk about nationality for a few hours, and it was a blessing to be with him. And yeah, praise Allah. So thank you, Sister Seals here. But while I have you, I have a few questions for you since you boldly came into the conversation like that. I'm gonna have to boldly ask you a few questions. Islam, why did Allah send you to this earth?
Oh, send me, so we're not in the questionnaire anymore.
Oh, we in the questionnaire. I'm just doing a little subset off of it with your name in it.
Well, Allah sent me here to perfect myself so that I can become one again.
Oh, okay. All right. We're going to work with that. Praise Allah. I see here we got a Sister Ramona.
Conflict can't be told in words. Islam. Peace and love.
Oh, okay. I see a Sister Ramona. Islam, Sister Ramona.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you, dear? Welcome to
I'm good.
Welcome to our temple. You been here before?
No, I was invited by our brother James. So this is my first time on a call, and this is my first time just being introduced overall
All right.
to you guys' world. So no.
It's our world, sister. You part of the family now. I don't know if he told you that, but once you dial that number in there, you know, you brought up another extended family. I know you got family, but now you got an extended family.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. What part of the country you calling from?
I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm in New York City, United States.
Oh, okay. What's your nationality?
I'm a Christian. My grandmother took me to church when I was younger, so she embedded Christ in me and my siblings at a young age.
Oh, I'm with the Christ. I mean, listen, you know, that's a state of mind that I hope to reach one day, that I can let the Christ in me, the God in me come out. And so when you talk about your nation or nationality, you know, there's the Japanese and the Chinese.
I'm Black. I'm African American.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna work with that, because I know there's several countries in Africa, several nations, you know, several nations in America. So I want to pin it down. I don't want to label you Nigerian, and you could be Egyptian, or you could be South African, or from Ghana. So we're gonna try. That's what we're trying to work it out, so we can all know who we are and one nation. So when you say you're a Black sister from Brooklyn, that means I know you with me.
Okay.
Because I'm a well, there you go, my mother and father getting over my shoulder. I don't know what that calls me, but I'm from Queens, and I'm glad to have you on the call with us today. Thank you so much for coming on. If you have any questions, just ask us the questions. You're gonna find us that we're not gonna use black and white, but that's just the terminology we don't use, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good to have you on. All right, let's see. We have I think we got everybody. Is there anyone on I didn't get? I don't see Brother Berry Bay. Let's see, I got Sister
can you hear me?
Harmony. Islam. See, when I don't see your name up there, I just see more signs telling me, but good to have you on. Thank you so much for helping out again.
Absolutely. Praise Allah.
Praise Allah. What do you think with a slave to sin? That's kind of a rough thought, right? A slave to sin?
Islam, yes, it is. First, I rise and give praise to Allah, high honors to his prophet, Noble Drew Ali, and everything that pertains to Islam. Yeah, I do think that that's a deep thought. I think many things can make us slaves to sin, and I think many things do make us slaves to sin. I think there are things that are more pressing and more difficult for us to deal with. I think there are things that universally affect us. You know, I think there are levels to those things, but I know personally, I think as individuals, sometimes I equate some of those things as vices, you know, things that we really struggle with, and that this particular demonstration gives us the opportunity, the instructions that the prophet brought us, everything that the prophet brought us gives us an opportunity to further evaluate those vices and teaches us how to love ourselves through them so that they no longer hold us down and hold us back.
Praise Allah. And you know, I send you some information today for today's class, and I was just thinking, you know, this state we find ourselves in, you know, a lot of times we see it in our families, and you know, there's nothing you can't deny what you see in your cousin or your sister or your friend, your father, your mother, and then you see it in yourself. And one of the things that the prophet talked about was the prophet Buddha. And in Buddha's thought, he had these, if you want to bring that up on the screen, sister, he had this thought about these 4 noble truths that he saw. The Grand Sheikh was mentioning Buddha a couple of weeks ago when we was talking about the rich and the poor. And we talk about how Buddha was part of the royalty, and he was a prince, and he had all of this different information, and he had all this money, and he wanted to relinquish that. He wanted to give that back. He's trying to find himself. So here you see on the screen, we talk about the 4 noble truths, charts the method of attaining the end of suffering. And I'm thinking about that slave to sin. you know, the slave to what we get ourselves into on this earth plane is like a suffering. You know, we're looking for certain things, we're trying to achieve certain things, and it became like a master over us almost, you know. But it says here that known to Buddha, says the noble eightfold path, the steps of the noble eightfold path are right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. And I think these are all the different things that we see in the Prophet's teaching. One time I remember Brother P. Chase Hill, our Assistant Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science to America, was teaching about the Prophet's teachings and saying how the Charter and the Holy Quran and the Questionary, all of these things incorporated Buddha, Confucius, Muhammad, and Jesus into the total thought. So here, if we go to the next screen, you know, for those that are not familiar with Buddha, if I don't know if the Grand Sheikh or Sister Harmony want to read that for us. Islam.
The Grand Sheikh is assisting me with getting it up on the screen so the Moors can see, and I'm happy to read it.
Okay, thank you. Let's read the first part.
Buddhism and introduction. Buddhism is a major global religion with a complex history and system of beliefs. The following is intended only to introduce Buddhism's history and fundamental tenets, and by no means covers the religion exhaustively. To learn more about Buddhism, please look through the resource section for in-depth online resources and information.
All right, so now we're gonna find out that Buddha is born in India. But I want to bring out, as we continue down this path, the Prophet mentions Buddha on the nationality card. And I was talking to Brother Anderson Bay. We were just talking recently about on a call here about these extra little things that the Prophet gives us, almost like a hint, almost like, you know, take a look at that. And so if he mentions Buddha and Confucius and Muhammad and Jesus on the nationality card, and then he mentions it again on the charter of the organization, it makes me think that maybe what Buddha was talking about is something that can help me along the path. So let's read, Sister, a little bit of history of Buddha right here.
Islam. Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. Historians estimate that the founder of Buddhism, Siddhartha Gautama, lived from 566 to 480 BC. The son of an Indian warrior king, Gautama led an extravagant life through early adulthood, reveling in the privileges of his social caste. But when he bored of the indulgences of royal life, Gautama wandered into the world in search of understanding. After encountering an old man, an ill man, a corpse, and an ascetic, Gautama was convinced that suffering lay at the end of all existence. He renounced his princely title and became a monk, depriving himself of worldly possessions in the hope of comprehending the truth of the world around him. The culmination of his search came while meditating beneath a tree, where he finally understood how to be free from suffering and ultimately to achieve salvation. Following this epiphany, Gautama was known as the Buddha, meaning the enlightened one. The Buddha spent the remainder of his life journeying about India, teaching others that he had come to understand.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam. So listen, Moors, if y'all could come in at any time, you know, this is a discussion for all of us. It's just, I just wanted to bring out, I was talking Friday for some of you that was on the line. And I was talking about, what are you looking for? You know, when you look out, when you look at people, when you look at things, when you know, I mentioned earlier, what are you looking for in the Moorish Science Temple America? You know, what do you see? What are you looking for? What are you focused on? You know, and one of the things here, Buddha was talking about the suffering. He saw that. He saw that these different people that he had met. He saw that in the world. And I was listening to something talking about Buddha earlier, and it's talking about how you enter the world suffering. You know, the whole coming through the birth canal. You know, that whole period right there. You know what I'm saying? That gain in life, searching for food, searching for nourishment so you could survive. You know, going through this world that we live in. And he saw the suffering. He saw the connection that we had to various things and the relationship, and realized that it's only in the right state of mind can you balance that out. Islam?
Islam.
All right. So he came upon these noble truths. So you went a little too far. Let's say you went up, let's go back. All right. Okay, then we go down a little bit. It's going to talk about the first noble truth. All right, let's start here about the fourth noble truths right here. The four noble truths are a contingency plan for dealing with the suffering humanity faces. Suffering of a physical kind or of a mental nature. The first truth identifies the presence of suffering. See, that's the first truth. These are things that you recognize in your existence. You recognize in this world we're in the presence of suffering. The second truth, on the other hand, seeks to determine the cause of the suffering. So now you recognize the suffering, and now you're seeking to understand the cause of the suffering. In Buddhism, desire and ignorance lie at the root of suffering. Desire and ignorance. By desire, Buddhists refer to craving pleasure, material goods, and immortality, all of which are wants that can never be satisfied. As a result, desiring them can only bring suffering. Ignorance, in comparison, relates to not seeing the world as it actually is. Not seeing the world as it actually is. So think about the prophet is talking about, he tells us, he says, in all the world, there's two things, truth and falsehood. And falsehood is that which seems to be. All right. So, you know, there's a part I think I read also on Friday in chapter 9, talking about Allah and all mastermind judge men by what they are and not what they seem to be. All right. And so in this concept, you know, it's how you actually seeing the world, how you're looking. That's what I've been bringing out. And that's what's been in my thoughts for the last week or so, is how does Brother Clendenin Bey look at things? How do I perceive things? And then I start to think, well, why do I do that? Why am I perceiving things like that? Why am I thinking like that? Why am I making these calls on what I see? And then why am I looking for these certain things am I looking for? So it says here, as a result, desiring them can only bring suffering. Ignorance in comparison relates to not seeing the world as it actually is without the capacity for mental concentration and insight. Buddhism explains one's mind is left undeveloped, unable to grasp the true nature of things. Vices such as greed, envy, hatred, and danger derive from this ignorance. Islam. So we're having a conversation here, more as I'm trying to just bring out some of these thoughts about Buddha. If we go to the next slide, I think it's going to talk about the third noble truth.
Islam.
Islam, Brother Anderson Bey.
Brother Anderson Bey, thank you for such a, wow. I'm blown away by this right now. Based on my experience with some years ago, man, I was taught by a lay priest, Buddhist priest, who was a Theravada monk, and the basis of most of their work is that particular practice is considered the oldest practice, which is the one that Siddhartha Gautama taught to his first pupil. And this particular tradition relies heavily on meditation and the studying the Four Noble Truths and the Eight Noble Path, and the idea of investigating one's own suffering, right? And so I think about that, like anytime I've ever gotten jammed up in the world, it's usually because of some decision I made based on my own desires, my desires, and not for my needs, like my desires, those things that I want, that are attached to something that's sort of to bring me some sort of glory or some real feeling, or, and it usually led me down a path of suffering, it really has. And so I just want to share that. And with that, I say peace.
Wow.
Well, praise Allah, because when you said that, it made me think about this chapter on weakness. And I thank you for saying what you said. And this is on page 52 more, Holy Instructions from the Prophet, Holy Instructions from the Prophet, Weakness, chapter number 42. And it says here, instruction 3.
That's right.
Are not thy desires also frail? Or knowest thou even what it is thou wouldest wish? When thou hast attained what most thou soughtest after, behold, it contenteth thee not. Wherefore loseth the pleasure of it before thee its relish? And why appeareth that which is yet to come the sweeter? Because thou art weary with the good of this, because thou knowest not the evil of that which is not with thee. Knoweth that to be content is to be happy. Couldst thou choose for thyself, would thy Creator lay before thee all that thy heart could ask for, would happiness then remain with thee? Or would joy always dwell in thy gates? And I think most people would say, yeah, I mean, if I could get everything I wanted, then I would be good. And he says, alas, thy weakness forbiddeth it. Thy infirmity declareth against it. Variety is to thee in the place of pleasure, but that which permanently delighteth must be permanent. And when we start doing a study and think about what the brother was saying and what I read there, we have to be truthful for ourselves. Like if you're an alcoholic and you want to stop drinking, you're doing drugs, you're vanity, shopaholic, whatever situation you might find yourself. And you say to yourself, I really need to stop. I need to. That's the first part, is to recognize that you got an issue. If you think that just going around wanting everything and thinking everything should be yours is not an issue, you're not gonna get to that point where you can conquer it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this the third noble truth. The truth of the suffering has dual meanings, suggesting either the end of suffering in this life on earth or in the spiritual life through achieving nirvana. When one has achieved nirvana, which is a transcendent state free from suffering, and our worldly cycle of birth and rebirth, spiritual enlightenment has been reached. All right? So somewhere in recognizing the suffering, somewhere in understanding where the suffering is coming from, then there's a part where you're starting to transition into, I need to do something about this suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, yes, you mind if I read something real quick, a paragraph or something?
Sure, go ahead, Mo.
Okay. So this is from the sutras, and this is the Lord Buddha. It's like, and what, monks, is the noble truth of suffering? Birth is suffering, age is suffering, death is suffering, sorrow, lamentation, pain, sadness, and distress are suffering. Being attached to the unloved is suffering. Being separated from the loved is suffering. Not getting what one wants is suffering. In short, the 5 arrogants of grasping are suffering. With that, I say peace.
Praise Allah.
Islam, Brother Kanenbe, can you hear me?
Yes, Grancy, go ahead, Grancy.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah. I wanted to add something into that particular part. And I don't know if my screen is still sharing. My screen is jumping around a little bit, but Brother Anderson Bay actually posted something very interesting into the Facebook chat a couple of weeks ago. It's called, and it's on our Temple 34 Facebook page that Sister Harmony just set up. It's called 108 Talks by John Sumedo. And it's basically a Buddhist practitioner. He's actually one of the representatives, actually an Eastern representative for Buddhism. I believe it was out of the UK. And he actually goes into this concept that comes from Buddhism that's spoken about in the chapter on weakness. You see in the chapter on weakness that it starts off talking about the desires, and then it goes into this concept of being content. You know, understanding how to be content when you have something, first of all, the desires lead to what you want, then you have to decide what you want. And once you decide on it, you have to be content that you actually have. And the chapter uses many different examples of life. It uses relationships as an example of being content, and somehow mysteriously how mankind always falls out of content. Once we actually have something, we lose the appreciation for it. And that leads up to this concept of decisiveness, being decisive, and how that ultimately is the mark of strength, being immutable and deciding what's right and standing on it. And this concept of being content gets into being in the moment. Buddhism talks about being in the moment, you know, kind of taking your attention away from, you know, being leveraged or founded mostly in the past or mostly in the future, but, anchoring it in the present moment so you could be available in the present. Peace.
Thank you, Grand Sheik. Praise Allah. Praise Allah more. And the reason I'm bringing this out, and I'm glad that the Moors are having a vibration with it, is that this can help along the way, you know, to recognize what's going on inside of yourself. You know, just like when the Prophet talks about, if you're looking for your devil, you look within. If you're looking for your savior, you look within.
Islam.
Let me read this last part. I get right to the next more. So the fourth noble truth charts the method for attaining the end of suffering, known to Buddhists as the Noble Eightfold Path. So you have these different steps of recognizing the suffering, where the suffering is coming from, that you need to do something about it. And then the fourth one is actually leading to the path that you can end this suffering. Islam, I heard one of the more speaking.
Islam. I wanted to add to Buddha's demonstration. He also spoke about protecting yourself and protecting others. So I have a chant that I do, and it's called Atanam Rakatu Parim Rakati, Parim Rakatu Atanam Rakati. That means protecting oneself. Oneself protect others. Protecting others, one protect oneself. And why I say that is that when you are living right, because the Prophet speaks about the pattern of man. Needs a pattern for his life, and we must be the message that we bring. So I believe when you protect yourself and you be in your higher self from all those things that allude to the slavery or sin, then you protect others because you are being an example, a message for them. So one must be careful how you present yourself to the public. It's all about your demonstration and what you are representing, and especially when you're part of a divine and national movement. It's important for people to see the divinity in you more than a lower self, especially if you have responsibilities being in the movement. They grow. They say every stage go higher and higher. How does that song go? Sing it when you
every round goes higher and higher.
Round goes higher. So I believe that, you know, when you are the example or the message that you bring, you are protecting others from their lower self because you're showing them how to strive for purity in life. And with that, I say peace.
Well, praise Allah, sister, for you saying that. And one thing that you said as far as representing, and I want to just camel back on that thought for a second, because like I mentioned to the Moors many times, that I look at us as like an officers training school. That we're not just looking for people to come and I'm just going to be a regular member for 30 years. No, we're looking for officers in the battle of righteousness, You know what I'm saying? And if you're going to represent what you say and what you do and how you carry yourself is going to represent all of us. So just like the sister talking about the protection for all of us, you know, in your actions is a protection for the organization, you know, and I think that both myself and the Grand Sheik have been very pleased with the membership that's going on the national conference calls with our leader, because the way the Moors carry themselves, you see what I'm saying? You know, that's what we're talking about. And we're gonna go into this last part here about carrying yourself. Sister Harmony, if you want to read this last part about the steps of the Noble Eightfold Path.
Islam. Excuse me. The fourth noble truth charts the method for attaining the end of suffering known to Buddhists as the Noble Eightfold Path. The steps of the Noble Eightfold Path are right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Moreover, there are 3 themes into which the path is divided: good moral conduct, understanding, thought, and speech; meditation and mental development, action, livelihood, effort; and wisdom or insight, mindfulness, and concentration.
Praise Allah. Thank you for bringing these things up on the screen. Appreciate you and the Grand Sheik. And, you know, so praise Allah, Moors. We give honor to Buddha and Confucius, and you see certain themes. You know, I got a call right before the conference call from Jehovah's Witness. And usually, and like I explained it to her, I was straight up with the sister on the phone. I said, when I was little, when they used to knock on my door, I said, oh, don't answer the door. We don't talk to them people. We don't want that conversation. You know, she was like, really? I'm like, I'm just being truthful. That's what I used to do when I was younger. I said, but now that I'm enlightened, I look forward to the knock on the door. You see? Because now I'm armed and extremely dangerous. That's what the truth. You see? So I started talking to her, and I could hear, it's like if you're a salesman, you hear the sales pitch. And since my bonus daughter's Jehovah's Witness, my wife used to be a Jehovah's Witness, I grew up with Jehovah's Witnesses, I've been around them, so I know the sales pitch, and I listen, and she starts talking about the scripture. And I say, well, you know, when I think of scripture, not only do I think about the Bible, I think about the Analects of Confucius, the Quran of Muhammad, the Holy Quran of Moorish Science of America, the Bhagavad Gita. And she's like, okay, you know what I'm saying? As I've been ready talking to one of your members, Pierre Charles, he calls me, he texts with me. She's like, oh, you know Pierre? And I'm like, yeah, I know Pierre. These are Jehovah's Witnesses calling from Delaware. And I'm in northern Maryland, so this is part of their area, say. So, but I enjoyed, and at first I was like, well, why this conversation? Because law governs all events. I'm getting ready to focus in on the Quran class. And at that moment, why out of the blue, Jehovah's Witness is gonna call me? And at first I was gonna get off the phone, and I was like, nah, let me stay on the phone and see where the conversation is gonna go. And I enjoyed talking to a young lady, and I'm pretty sure she enjoyed talking to me, you know, but it's just something about engaging in the conversation. You know, we have to play an active role in our salvation. So after you read everything about what we talked about, Buddha and everything, you have to make a decision. That Eightfold Path is not something that's just gonna happen. You gotta say, I'm unconscious that I'm gonna have right thoughts, my right action. You know, when you get offered that job and you're looking at that job and you're like, oh, I don't know, that job kind of connects to my principles here. You got to make a decision, or maybe you wait for another job. You know, and all of these things, because it's going to bring about a certain vibration. So I want to go back to the question. Islam?
I'll wait till you go back to your question. I don't want you to lose your thought. That's fine.
Well, I just wanted to go back to the question of why are we in the temple, and why did Allah send you to this plane and things may manifest? And it's not like a question like I'm going to say something wrong. It's how you feel. It's like being real. We're family members. Some people say, The reason I'm in the temple because my mother brings me every Sunday. Brother, because that's why I'm in the temple. And she says it's time to go to the temple, get your fez, get your turban, and we going. And that's the reason I'm in the temple. You know, another brother could say the reason I'm in the temple because I got in a bunch of trouble, and through the halfway house and different things, by me signing up for the temple, it gives me certain privileges that I wouldn't have if I wasn't in the temple. Just be real. You know, I'm in the temple because I've been in many temples in many places, and this is just one place I'm stopping along the way to get some information and keep it moving. And I'll be out of the temple by next week. And we've seen that. So if you want to start off and you have a question or comment, sister, I think that was Sister Seal, Islam.
Yes, Bob. So indeed, as you were communicating, reading, and as Sister Celia's Basic Harmony was communicating, I thought it was a beautiful thought because the 8 dimensions of wellness is what we utilize in order to assist our participants along the way, right? And it's very much connected to the Buddhist way of life, right? And this is what I utilize at work. I use this to assist those living with mental illness. Primarily, we focus in on geriatrics. And we have an understanding or a motto amongst ourselves throughout the meetings that makes it clear that if we can't get this country that we live in to recognize that the seniors need to be stable in order for people to secure themselves in life now, then we're going to continuously kind of be like a rat on a wheel, right? So if we can't get others to understand how important it is to respect old age, there'll be no sense in saving up and preparing life for the future because there's no respect on it now. And so with the 8 dimensions of wellness, the first one is emotional and mental, right? So first is how is your mind, and your feelings are directly connected to your mind. And so how is your emotional and mental health doing? And this doesn't just mean about diagnoses of things like that. Have you checked in with yourself lately? Have you had a chance to actually slow down and see what's burdened you for the week, the month? We celebrate our birthdays, but do we truly take down and note the things and the burdens that pass with us through the year, as well as the blessings, to properly place the emotions and the things that we've learned, right, going forward? There's also the portion that goes into environmental, where it talks about where you live. So now, first of all, having a place to live, but also keeping it clean and what it means to keep it clean, because these thoughts that you develop come from your environment. And so your environment directly affects how you think. And so when you're not able to get into a place of spirituality, or you're not able to get into your safe space, how do you go within yourself to create that environment of peace and stability? And then it goes into, of course, the financial part, because now once your mind is right and your environment's together, you're going to need to be able to maintain certain things for yourself in order to continue to elevate, and the recognizing of that. And then it goes back now, and then it goes into intellectual, which is now the learning process. Are you open to learning? Now that you have these finances, you have all these things, are you open in your mind to being able to properly employ them aright? You know, have you taken on occupational? Have you taken on something, not just a job, but something to keep yourself busy in a positive sense that's going to be giving back, but keeping you in a state of being purposeful and helpful? And then it goes into physical, keeping yourself moving, keeping yourself active, but not just in a physical and in the body, but the mind also going, keeping the gears rolling, keeping yourself revolving on positive things, new things. Are you allowing yourself to stay stuck in your generation and you're not willing to venture out? They spoke about music and things like that. And as the vibration changes in the earth on a whole, the musical vibration is going to change. And so you have the parents who are like, we're not listening to that. That's trash. You don't know about the such and such generation. And they're like, but it's important to keep up with the vibration, because the vibration directly interacts with the people on the planet. And so they were talking about that. And then the social aspect. Now, how do you communicate? Do you know who to communicate to, how to communicate, and whether or not communication is needed to be verbal or nonverbal? And now, are you aware of those cues? And at what point do you limit your communication versus do you deliver it? Now, and then it goes finally spiritual. So after you've acquired those other 7 steps, it's telling you now you can truly focus on the all that has to be offered once you analyze the complete. And it kind of rolls with the different chakras. But I thought about that with relation to when you said to me, yeah, Mobitus would see it that way. I know my brother could in the Bay, right? So I'm sitting here and I'm like, somebody who doesn't know us, doesn't know a relationship, doesn't know anything would be like, oh my goodness, that's so chauvinistic. How could he say such a thing? Moabites, huh? And then I sit here and I'm like, here you go again, right? But inside, I'm looking at it and I'm like, he has a thought that he's trying to focus on and can't delve deep into certain things. And so as he took that note and moved on gracefully, I know what I'm looking at and what I'm hearing, but it takes a matter of us all sitting still and trying to look for the best that speaks within. And so even though we go by different titles, different names, different ways, you have to look at the face of man, because when you're looking at that face, that's the image of Allah that speaks within. And so I definitely am grateful to hear this. When you were speaking, I thought of Brother Anderson Bay and the work that he's doing. You know, he comes out of Brownsville, Brooklyn. I come out of Brownsville, Brooklyn. And this brother is directly out here assisting the youth. I wish he was out here. One of my brothers was out here on the streets before he got sent away. And maybe he would have been able to make a difference in his life. You get what I'm saying? And so hearing these members on the line, even the sister that came on the line and was proud to say, you know what? I know something. I know that I'm proud of my people. I have race pride. That's what I heard. When she said she was African American, I heard her just saying I had race pride. And you know what? And my family brought me up loving Jesus, and I've got principles. And so when I hear these kind of strengths, I you know, before there was a time I'd be like, oh boy, we got a Christian. Oh boy, we got a this. But now I'm hearing the strength. I'm hearing the spirit. I'm hearing the Allah that speaks within. And so with that, I say peace and thank you.
Praise Allah, praise Allah.
Yes,
Hope you scared sister off the line, Sister CLZ, because she was on the line till you said her name, and now you scared her off the line, but that's okay. But you know what the beautiful thing is what the sister said, you know. When we know each other and we're family, you look at each other different. You know what I'm saying? She knows how I am. I'm her brother. I'm her big brother. I treat her a certain way. I come at her a certain way. She comes at me a certain way. But we appreciate each other. Now, if she didn't know me, she might like, oh, that brother's being disrespectful or something. You know what I mean? Like earlier today, I don't know if some of you Moors was on the thread early this morning. So I woke up and one of our brothers was like, Islam means I am self-law and master. And I'm like, nah, that's not what Islam means. Islam means love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. So then it was like back and forth, you know, and I could tell. And what I was trying to bring out is that, and then Brother Rebels Bay, I didn't even know Brother Rebels Bay was on the thread. So then the Grand Chief from Temple 21 comes out and he's like making statements out of the Quran. And one of the things out of the Quran is the Prophet talks about to preserve these teachings, you know. So when you find sometimes Moorish Americans are like what we call sticklers on certain statements, it's because we've seen how there's like this outer Moorish science, Temple America culture. I'm sure some of you Moors have met up with it. Their terminology is a little bit different and they're kind of on the fringes. Some of them never been in the temple. They might have never read the Divine Constitution, the bylaws, or the Charter, but they developed this language. So when you stop and you see a brother with these license plates and it says ISLAM, and underneath he has different symbols, I know where he's kind of coming from. Now, if he tries to bring this into the temple, Brother Kandenbe is going to be the first one to go like that. Islam more. Mm-hmm. It's not a problem. I understand where you're coming from. That Elijah Muhammad said we're the Asiatic black man, but I'm gonna leave the black part out of that. So you can't come like that. You can't bring all of that other stuff in. And it's not that I'm against you. You know what I'm saying? It's not that I'm against that particular thought that they're trying to express. All I know is that if we keep going down that road 200 years from now, you won't know what the prophet's teachings is and what has been added to the prophet's teachings. You know, the next thing you know, they're going to start changing the picture of the prophet. You know what I'm saying? The next thing, the Holy Quran is different. Then, you know, they start adding 101 questions, 104 questions, 110 questions. Assistant Chairman, Islam.
I wanted to add, when you asked the question, you said, why did Allah send us here to this earth? Well, my measure is saying, it says here, Elihu said to Mary and Elizabeth, you may esteem yourselves thrice blessed, for you are chosen mothers of long promised sons, who are ordained to lay a solid rock, a sure foundation stone on which the temple of the perfect man shall rest, a temple that shall never be destroyed. So we are here for this preparation age of soul. We raising our consciousness, and we ought to be the example, be the message for our sisters and brothers. There's, the prophet took away all the excuses. So I concur with you when you say don't change what the prophet brought because it gets lost. I totally, and we can have different school of thoughts that we sat in. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We don't throw our Bible out. But understand, when you're under this charter, you do it the way the prophet said to do it. It's a reason why he gave us that pattern, because we needed order in our lives. If we had the answers, then we wouldn't need the prophet to return. So I concur. I just wanted to let you know that.
Praise Allah.
Prophets, Allah sent me here for.
Well, praise Allah. And I'm gonna say, and it's been a path, because me personally, and we'll get to some of the other Moors, I was one of those Moors. I got on the path with the prophet because I had race pride and love my race, and I've been trying to figure out what I could do, how I could help, because I grew up watching the police attack our sisters with the dogs and the water cannons, and the next thing I knew, Martin Luther King was dead, Malcolm X was dead, Robert Kennedy was dead, John F. Kennedy was dead, and I'm growing up. I'm a teenager, and I'm waiting for the troops to come. I'm waiting for the backup. Okay, they took them out, but where's the backup? And I think Jesse Jackson was trying to do the best he could. He actually ran for president, I think, in 1984, one of those years back there. And I'm like waiting. I'm like, well, where's the rest of the Black Panthers? Where's the rest of the people that was with Martin Luther King? Where's the people that was with Malcolm X? Where are they? And then Elijah Muhammad passed, and his son Warren Dean took over, and he kind of toned down the whole message that the Nation of Islam was bringing, and kind of brought him back to the American Muslim mission and Sunni Islam, and the Farrakhan was left out there without the rest of them people helping him, because once the leader and his family's not following you, then you're trying to do your thing. And I'm just looking at it all, and I'm like, who's gonna do something? And when I came into the prophet's teachings, I was like, wow. I was like, this can help the people. If I'm part of this organization can help my people, and then within that, got touched by the religious side, got touched by the silent brotherhood, got touched by the fact that Brother Kandenbe, there's attributes in you that if you bring them out, you could be like a God man, and not in a vain sense, but a God man, because a God man could do much more to help his people. Think of what a mastermind can do to help his people. Think about what an Adam can do to help his people. Think about the more you achieve, the more you gain, how much more you can help your people. So praise Allah for that. So Moors, we're gonna go to a couple of Moors, go down the list. I'm not trying to put you on a spot or nothing. Maybe say why you're in the temple, what you're looking for, what you're trying to achieve down here. We see Brother Anderson Bey. We'll go with Brother Anderson Bey.
Islam. We have a couple of hands that have gone up too. So when you're ready to take hands, let me know.
All right, let me go through this and then I'll go right to the hands.
Islam,
keep it brief.
Yes. I want to yield to Brother Turnabay. He's had his hand up for quite a while.
Okay, I didn't see that. Brother Turnabay, Islam.
Islam, Brother Anderson Bey. When you spoke about the Jehovah's Witnesses, kind of brought back the memories, because I was raised with my grandmother. Mm-hmm. She was a Jehovah's Witness and devout Jehovah's Witness. I actually watched her transition from some of the things that I was seeing when I was conscious enough to understand what they was, into fully being a Jehovah's Witness. And it was because of her that I had to read the Bible 3 times a night. We had Bible study in the house, so I was very, very, very intrigued with all the lessons. And from a young age, I was more into the lesson or comprehend. I don't know why. I just comprehended the lesson that was being taught in the stories of Job and Joshua, and I would just sit as a youth and just ponder on what it was trying to say. And when I got to Jesus and Revelation, and it explained his attributes, I was taken aback. So what I did was I went to, in the Kingdom Hall, you call the leaders of the Kingdom Hall, you call them elders. So I went to the elder And I asked him, what complexion is Jesus? Because I was confused, right? I was confused because you're showing me pictures, right, of a pale-skinned dude with brown hair. But when I read in the Jehovah's Witness book, it say he the color of dirt. And when I asked him, he told me to ask my grandmother. I looked at him perplexed. I was like, huh? Ask my grandmother. Like, you the elder. How does my grandmother know more than you? So I went and asked my grandmother right when he said it, right in the Kingdom Hall, right when he said it. And she said, oh, baby, he's every color. And that left me more confused, right? So now I'm like, yo, why is everybody lying to me? So, as I got older, I understood his point and I understood what my grandmother was trying to do. She was protecting me from racism, right? Because even though racism is being imaged to us, she was protecting me from it, because at that age, I didn't know, even though I grew up in East New York pig houses, I didn't know about, like, we didn't feel racism. Like, I didn't grow up around like racist people or knowing, like, I read about it and knew about it, but we didn't feel the actions of racism. So it was kind of like crazy that she would say he's every color, but the book say this. So I say that to say that, since a young age, truth has always been what I searched for. If my senses, my divine senses and my physical senses come in contact with if it's mixed, right? And we know truth and falsehood sometimes are strangely mixed, but when it comes to knowledge of self and it comes to divine knowledge, it rubs me off in a very, very ill manner. So I would say what brought me into the temple was the search for truth. I done stood in with the nations of gods of earth, studied the Quran, studied, some of the books of the Vedas, studied the Buddhism. I was young doing this, you know what I'm saying? So when I'm searching for truth, it's just something I found that all the books, and I'm like 16, 17, all of them was saying the same thing, just in different languages. And I would just look at people argue sometimes, like Jews will argue with this and, the Israelites on the corner. And I'll be just like looking at them like, yo, why are you telling this European you gonna rape her? And I'll be like, yo, that can't be right. You know what I'm saying? Because you doing what somebody taught you because you think the Bible was interpreted a certain way. Nah, I would say back then, that's now cipher, God. So it was like, wow, where's this truth at? And then when I came in contact with let's say gang activity, the lessons in each gang, they come from somewhere because it had touches of truth, 5-pointed stars. Each was founded on the principles of righteousness. And I'm like, yo, they ain't acting like these. They ain't acting like this. Like, this is not what it was for. Like, so, then I came in contact with Noble Drew Ali, and I see where all these signs and symbols and righteousness stems from. And I'm like, yo, they all got this from Noble Drew Ali. So that was like the height point and led me into digging deep for the gold that was truth. Because when I started studying Noble Drew Ali, there was not one word I can find or one thing said I can find that could be disputed. And it's, truth is art is a law, so if you find something that's immutable, it cannot change nor pass away. That's what I fell in love. I love truth. Truth to me is like breath of fresh air. It is air to me. It is life. It's the sustenance. You know what I'm saying? anything that taints that truth or it doesn't add up, it rubs my whole spirit wrong. You understand what I'm saying? So if someone's saying something and it's like, well, why are you saying that? I immediately go to enemy of my people. Immediately my mind goes there. You know, that's just how, you know, I'm just wired that way. You know what I'm saying? So when you say like a purpose, my purpose and my happy place is music, right? Since a child, that was also installed into me. So through music and speech, because, you know, in a Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall, and when they're young, they teach you how to, you know, read the Bible and you speak to the Kingdom Hall on the podium, you know. So I was doing that since I was 8 years old, right? So it was always in me to talk to people in multitudes and never was scared about that. That wasn't a fear, because I've seen people go up there and stutter and be and sweat, and I'm like, what the hell are they doing that for? You know, you don't know what's going on in someone's mind or someone's, you know, makeup on why that is. You know what I'm saying? But it just, to me, it just was like, it was a natural flow of things, you know? So, you know, like, again, truth. I'm a true, what they would call a truth in Arabic, or the Taliban, the truth seekers.
Islam.
Islam.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah, Moors. Listen, Moors, I mean, we all got our stories, but we have to keep them a little short because we're kind of getting near the end of time. But I want to go, if Brother Anderson Bay, and then we go Brother Peter Zeal, Brother Anderson Bay.
Islam, Brother Peter Bay.
Islam, Grand Sheikh.
Islam.
Hold on.
I'm here because I want to serve Allah.
Hold on 1 second. Brother Grand Sheikh.
Islam, AGS, if you could save me 1 minute at the end of that, I got something interesting I want to share with the Moors.
Oh, yeah, I was going to save you for the end, Moor.
Allah.
All right, Brother Anderson Bay, sorry.
Islam. I said I'm here to serve. That's what brought me here.
Praise Allah.
Nothing more, nothing less. I am here to serve. You know, every morning when I wake up, I affirm by the prayers of saying I believe that my condition can be improved, right? And by following that action is the series of things as far as the prayers, the meditation, and following these divine instructions that are in here. Because I tell you, I got reference points of life running on my own will. For me, this is a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer, AGS.
Yes, sir.
This is covered it the other night. You know, the love thought. Man, come on. Allah loved me so much, he sent somebody that looked just like me, set up a system that's sustainable, right? That's a term we hear a lot, sustainable. When I finally got here in 2021, that all I had to do is just say, hey, I'm ready to do whatever it is that needs to be done to stay, you know? And so at a day at a time, I get to do all this stuff, you know, without reservation and no expectation of nothing in return, man.
Praise Allah.
So with that, I say peace.
Thank you so much, brother, man. Brother Peter Zeal. Brother J. Peters here.
Islam, Grand Sheikh.
Islam.
My apologies. I got three sets of literature and can't find one. Allah is testing me right now. He's testing my memory and my knowledge.
You got it in your mind's eye. Which one you want? I'll put it in your mind's eye. Which one you looking for?
All right, so just I just wanted to kind of like refresh a thought that I had, and came and walk with my brother Corey Turnabay, and to express why, and not just express, but to kind of help figure out myself as well. Why am I here? You know, so when he was speaking about his grandma going through the Jehovah's Witness and stuff like that, my grandmother did was the exact same thing. And well, when I think about why I'm here, and I go back to the questionnaire and I think about the question that you asked earlier today, is no happenings. What are some of the great fathers that through which Jesus came? I can't remember any of my great fathers, because like my grandfather, my great grandfather, and all of those, they passed before my time. So the only thing I have to think of is my grandmothers. And my grandmother was a Jehovah's Witness. My mom's mom was a Jehovah's Witness. My mom was a devout Christian. And she took me to the church, and I was in the church. I couldn't understand it. They told me don't ask questions and stuff like that. So it kind of threw me for a loop. And then I find not Egyptology, but I find some teachings of the East. And it stuck. Like that just light switch just came on, like, wow, this is truth. This is why we are here. We are here to be peaceful. We're not here to be backbiting. We're not here to be pulling each other down, crabs in a barrel, you know? We're not here to be taking advantage of each other, you know? And that's the whole demonstration I got from the quote unquote Black community, you know, our Asiatic brothers and sisters, from which I've encountered, you know, was a lot of that. And it's like normal. It's like an everyday thing. It's just like regular. It's like, oh, well, you don't do that? Oh, there's something wrong with you. And it's just like, what? So it's like that. Now I think back that like that Sunday morning, and I was just waiting. I was waiting to go to church, sitting there. Not waiting. I wasn't waiting to go to church, because actually I was faking like I was asleep, so I wouldn't get called to go to church. But that call never came. So it was like a wake up call for me, in a sense. Like maybe this isn't where I'm supposed to be going, down that path of the church. You know, maybe that's not what the path that the creator of the universe set for me. So then I think, and then when I find Prophet Noble Drew Ali, well, actually I find some of the teachings in the East, and then I find out that our prophet was an adept in those teachings. I'm like, oh wow, this is really it. This is really, really it, you know? And then not just the peaceful aspect that it blessed upon me, but now the civic aspect as well, that I'm starting to get a better understanding of, you know? And it's just mind-blowing. And then when I think back, it's a little, my grandmother, Jehovah's Witness, my mom was a Christian, and then I slide in with the 18 missing years that everybody was missing. You know, try to put everybody else on, like, yo, this is what mommy had, this is what grandma had, this is what, you know, and it's just like nobody really trying to hear that. You know, nobody really trying to hear that, but it's just to just stay strong and firm in my belief in what I know to be true, and continue to keep my open mind and learning, because what I know to be truth may not be truth in some instances and aspects. So to just always keep an open mind and just strive for better, you know, strive for better, strive to do more, and definitely come along with my brother on that servant aspect of it all, because when you help your fellow man, you're helping Allah. And with that, I just say peace.
Peace. Well, praise Allah, Moors. I didn't realize how fast the time is slipping away. I don't want to get in no trouble from the Grand Sheik or nothing, or Sister Berry Bay or the chairman or nothing. So I'm not going to be able to get to everybody, you know what I'm saying? But I just wanted you to think about it. You know, we always talk about why Allah sent the prophet, why Allah sent Garvey. But why did Allah send you? You know what I'm saying? What are you doing here? Where are you going? When you came in the temple, what are you looking for? What are you trying to achieve? Because we're all your brothers and sisters on the same similar path. And when we hear each other speak, we hear the similarities of why we're here, you know? And it makes me think about what the prophet said in the warning for the state where I, the prophet, found you. You see? So the prophet found you and he recruited you. Whether you wanted to serve like Brother Anderson Bay or Brother Peters Hill, or whether you wanted to help your people, or whatever the different thoughts that we've all been talking about. That's why Allah has you here, you know? And I enjoy the fact that we all got those backgrounds from those great parents that in their own way were trying to find the way for them and for their families. And through that, it made you think, it made you the character that you have, you know? Doesn't matter whether your mother was a good old Baptist or Jehovah's Witness or they gave you something. They taught you the teachings of the prophets. You know what I'm saying? All the divine prophets, they taught you some things. They might have some things that was maybe a little misinformation they were given, but they was righteous people and they were loving people. And they was trying to teach you how to be righteous and loving. And that's part of Buddha's eightfold path. Righteous thoughts, righteous actions, righteous livelihood. So we're going to call on the Grand Sheik. He said he had a couple minutes, and I'm going to say peace, and then the Grand Sheik could turn it back over to the chairmans. Peace, Morris.
Yes, thank you, Brother.
Peace.
I wanted to really briefly tell an interesting story. And my answer to that question, Brother Clendenin Bay, is that I've always been from, you know, around the time that I began to think for myself, which is like junior high school, I was always deeply offended that we didn't know what our history was. You know, I was always really deeply offended. I always wanted to know exactly what we were. And I had a very strong sense that we were a great people. And that was coupled, what brought me into the temple was coupled with the fact that I wanted to be a part of the salvation of our people. You know, I was definitely afraid that we were being mislabeled and we were going in the wrong direction. I remember the mid-90s when certain music began to come about, being very paranoid when Biggie Smalls and Lil' Kim came out. I always tell this story that I was like, oh my goodness, this is like an erosion. We're gonna go into a horrible place with this type of mentality. So I always had a burning desire to want to save our people. And I'm gonna show them more something very interesting. This is, I had to dig for this picture while we were talking. This is from my Facebook page. Let me see if I can find it here real quick. Where did it go? This is an image from my Facebook page. Let me actually share it and stop sharing. I told them that I'm an artist, and I have, this is an image of a painting that goes back to the year 1990. In my junior high school, I painted this image. I was the president of my high school actually as well. It's about a 6 foot, it's about 5 foot by 5 foot tall painting. I don't know if the Moors can see that. And it still hangs on the walls of my high school to this day. And this is a picture of, this is an oil painting of Brother Cyrus Ill seated in a chair. And down below here, this represents, I painted this to represent our people. You see this brother stretched out, look like chains, pulling them, holding them down. You got people sitting in pictures of, it's basically a mess. It's what our people are going through, you know, trauma and stress, you know, out of slavery. You see nooses in this picture. Then you see Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and Marcus Garvey. This goes back to 1991. I was actually, I think I painted this when I was a senior in high school. I'm gonna share another image. This
you
is
had a lot of muscles in that picture, Grand Sheik. I was just noticing you know, all the muscles and everything.
I've always been like a skinny, muscular guy type. I guess that's what a lot about it. So I'm familiar. These are images. I remember I told the Moors I painted I'm an oil painter. I was the top painter in the United States, actually one of the top painters in the country when I left high school, and that's how I got a full scholarship to Pratt. But these are some of the images that I was painting at that time. This is actually getting into the early 90s, 91, 92. Painting of, this is like a poster painting of Marcus Garvey, you know, Cleopatra. I've always been about my people, you know, having a sense of race pride. These are images of, I have a whole series of painting drawings that are illustrations that are the Asiatic depictions of the prophet Jesus. And I want to show this particular one. This is actually a depiction of the prophet Jesus. This is a drawing from around that era that shows our people as we're suffering from the different things, right? You see needles, beer bottles, the television, basically, you know, messing with people's mentality. And although most of our people are suffering and falling, you know, some of us would sensed even, again, 1993, this is about 10 or 12 years before I even heard of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I realized that although a lot of us would fall to these things, many of us will become stronger and be able to rise out of the chaos of what was going on. So I just wanted to share that with the Moors. That's what brought Brother Cyrus Hill is a
praise Allah, Grand Sheik.
Passion for our people, passion for the plight of the Asiatics in America. Praise Allah.
Islam, that's fire.
Brother Ferguson now?
Islam?
Islam. Islam.
Islam.
Which I rise and give praise to Allah, give honor to everything that the assistant chairman gave honor to everyone on the call, giving honor to the Sunday school, the instructor. Praise Allah. That remember when Jesus did India, Africa, and Europe, and he was known as the Buddha of enlightenment. Right. So you like I said, those like I said, teachings of is more like a Sufism and above Sufism. So you know, it's like, you know, probably knew what we needed in order to get us back. So praise Allah for that. And what we're gonna do during the secretary time, those who had their hands up, we're gonna give them a chance to express themselves. I don't want to leave nobody out. You know, we want to make sure everybody get a chance to express themselves. So at this time, I'll read the warning. Islam.
Islam.
Divine warning by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Prophet warns all Muslims, governors, orders and reproclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans that causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Fail to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid out to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turbans and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet therefore is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. It's an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways by order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Peace.
Hey.
We're gonna put the some of the information on for Temple 34, where you can, if you want to pay your dues, or you want to become a member.
Islam Chairman, this brother Anderson Bay.
Islam.
I want to come by and get some tea. Can I come by there in like 10 minutes to get some tea?
Yes, we'll be here.
We'll be here.
Okay, I'm gonna leave my house now. All right, thank you.
Islam.
One thing the prophet said, some of my best Moors are in the church. All right, so you know, like I said, our grandmother and mother, it was good Moors. They had principles. Peace.
Hey.
Peace.
In the announcements portion, Brother Ferdinand.
Go ahead, Mo.
I wanted to ask Sister Ramona, who was a guest on, if she's still on the line. Was Sister Ramona a visitor of James? Would that be James Petersdale or James Coleman?
Islam, I don't see her on the line, but if either of the James want to speak on behalf of their guests and let us know who invited her.
Wow.
Islam, that was Petersdale.
Islam. Islam, Motion American.
Islam, Muslims, Islam.
Can we get Sister C. Williams Bay? Can we get some of those people who had their hands up?
Islam, yes. Brother J. Coleman Eel.
All right, we can get him.
Islam, Morse. Islam, man. First, I rise to give all praise to Allah, the last prophet in these days, Prophet Noble Ali. I give honors to Mark Scarvey and everything pertaining to Islam. I see when I came on the call, I see some of the Muslims, they were speaking about how, you know, what's your reason of being in the Moore Science Temple of America, right? So, like every day, I used to look at the clock, right? And from AM to PM, I used to always see the number 911, right? It was kind of weird. Like I was like, I keep seeing this number. Why I keep seeing this number, right? So I happened to look up the number, and I looked it up, and it was saying something about a guardian angel, right? So it says the light workers, right? The light workers are identified as people whose sole mission in life is to save humanity. The number was a reminder for light workers to perform their duties, you know. So when I was thinking about that, what the Moors were saying, I'm like, wow, this all connects, you know, because my background, I came as Christianity, you know, my grandfather, my folks was Christians and everything like that. So, you know, I just feel like everything is bound by course to every other living thing. So we all is connected, you know, with these lessons and everything like that. I just wanted to just put that in the air for everybody to listen to. So peace and love to everyone out there. Peace.
Peace. Praise Allah.
Praise Allah, boy.
Wow, praise Allah.
Who's the next person on Sister C. Williams Bay?
Islam, I'd like to call on Brother P. Bokeziel.
Okay. Islam.
Islam. I rise in vibration and give praise to the great God Allah. I give honors to the Prophet Noble Ali, and I give honors to the Moorish Science Temple of America, and honors to everyone that can hear my voice. I just had 2 comments in regards to this Sunday school lesson. Praise Allah. Going back to, I had a story, a quick comment for what Brother Clendenin Bey, Grand Sheikh Brother Clendenin Bey had mentioned or brought up. I grew up in an auto body shop, all right, not a motor vehicle shop, but that's just a joke. I thought about my uncle, and he said he used to tell me a parable about finding my way up a building with no doors and windows or stairs. If I saw a naked girl on the roof, I would find a way to get up there, right? And with that same thought, he would say, get your work done. And that was a lesson that I take with me throughout life, and I give honors to my uncle for that lesson. And then I came about Quran questions for Moorish Americans, number 37. Did the angel give to the child that was called Jesus a holy name? Yes, but it cannot be used by those who are slaves to sin. I wanted to comment back then to what that question brings me to is chapter 8. And that chapter gave me a clearer perception of what the prophet meant by slaves to sin, quote unquote sin, in chapter 8. Jesus reveals to the people of their sinful ways. And instructions 2 through 7, found on page 13 of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Circle 7, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Jew Ali, by the guiding of his father, God, Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity, back to the highest plane of life with his father, God, Allah. And in those instructions, I'm gonna read them real quick because it's a lot of knowledge in here. One day, a car of Jagana was hauled along by scores of frenzied men, and Jesus said, "Behold," quote, "behold, a form without a spirit passes by, a body with no soul, a temple with no altar fires. This car of Krishna is an empty thing, for Krishna is not there. This car is but an idol of a people drunk on wine of carnal things. Allah lives not in the noise of tongues. There is no way to him from any idol shrine. Allah's meeting place with man is in the heart, and in the still small voice he speaks. In a still small voice he speaks. And he who hears is still." End quote. And all the people said, "Teach us to know the Holy One who speaks within the heart, Allah of the still small voice." And Jesus said, quote, "The holy breath cannot be seen with mortal eyes, nor can men see the spirit of the Holy One. But in their image, man was made, and he who looks into the face of man looks at the image of Allah who speaks within." And with that, I say, I am so grateful and honored to share in like minds and be in the Temple of Moorish Science Temple of America, Temple number 34, and to be blessed with the congregation of all of you. With that, I say peace, and again, praise, thanks Allah.
Allah.
Yes, praise Allah.
I must give the Moors a time warning.
All right, go ahead.
So if we can wrap up, praise Allah.
Is there anybody else?
Yes, we have a hand, Sister C. Silzio.
Islam, Sister Cecile. One short break. Go ahead, sister.
Breaking up a little bit.
You're breaking up.
I just wanted to. Islam?
Islam, yes.
I'm out doing grocery shopping before the storm hits. So pardon any noise if there is any. All right, is that any better or is that really bad? It's just 2 seconds. I just wanted to say, Grand Sheikh, I appreciate it. Well, everything that everyone said, praise Allah for the Moors and for their thoughts and for their minds, and may Allah continue to grant them the ability to applaud them aright. I was just gonna say, the image that you showed reminded me of the X and Y chromosome, and the fact that the sister was the X chromosome. If you look it up, the X chromosome is inherited from the father, and then the men inherit the Y from the father, if that makes sense. So the fathers are the only ones that have the XY, and I thought it was interesting that the brother was the Y and the sister was the X, and it had its nucleus in the center. And so I just thought that was a beautiful thought, because this is the Moorish Science Temple of America, and so praise Allah that you were able, that was the heavy science.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. Thank you, Sister Silvia. Wow.
Praise Allah.
That was the green and pink image, right? Right. I follow the thought. Also have to rewind so they can see which one you were talking about. Praise Allah.
Islam.
Oh.
Islam, brother, first now.
Islam Grand Sheik.
I wanted to make sure we had the brother Night Ill in the studio with us in the temple here last week, and I meant to put him on the camera while he was sitting here. We got a guest in the studio this afternoon. One of our brothers. I wanted the Moors to make sure to be able to see his face because we haven't seen him for a while. Brother Ferguson, if you can let the Moors know who's the guest in the temple this afternoon.
Islam.
Islam.
We got brother our Lord Eel
Islam.
with us.
Islam, brother Lord, you want to step over?
Praise Allah.
Islam.
Get up. Islam.
Let's go across.
Islam, boy.
Islam. Yeah, go down a little bit so they can see your face.
Islam, Islam.
Islam. Peace.
Islam, more.
Islam, more.
Islam. Good to see my boy, man. Islam, brother, man.
Islam, good brother. Peace and love, more.
Islam, North Americans. Islam. Peace.
Allah. Anything else, Grand Sheik? That's it?
Islam, that's it, brother Chairman. I wanted to say with that image, that painting, that shows the trauma of what our people were going through, and the images of the brothers and the leaders that I could see at that time that were doing something, including Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and Marcus Garvey. Praise Allah. You know, Marcus Garvey stood out to me even before I came into the Moorish Science Temple of America. And found out he was the forerunner to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, based on what anyone can see. Marcus Garvey is clearly very important. The image is me in a seat and standing up, basically like, look, what are you going to do about it? So I'm kind of getting out of my seat to say, look, we have to do something about this. All of us need to do something about it. And praise Allah that coming into the Moorish side, hearing about the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who had already done all the hard work. You know, coming into the Moorish Science Temple of America, it was like we came into an armory where I had a desire, but I had no way of figuring out, you know, what the Prophet brought, or no way of putting together this movement with a temple that's incorporated in the government. So it made it, once you had that certain type of spirit, when you come into the Moorish Science Temple of America, praise Allah, it's like coming into an armory. The Prophet armed us with the truth. All we have to do is just follow basic instructions. We don't have to create nothing. We don't have to, he did all the hard work. So I say, praise Allah to that thought. I'd like to thank you, Brother Kaninabe, for that, for not only for the class this afternoon, which was very, very informative, but also for that question. That's a powerful question. And with that, I say peace, Morris. Peace,
Islam, praise Allah. Wow. DGS.
Islam, Chairman.
Yeah. You remember that picture that Brother Foster Bay did at the convention?
Yes, sir. Where the moon's going into paradise.
We need to get a copy of that to show also. You know?
There was a former chairman of Temple number 34 when it was known as 54, Brother Foster Bay. That's also Brother Dr. Pimenta Bay's uncle.
Uncle, yeah.
Wow.
And I think he did some design of chess piece too, right?
I think so. Yes, he had a Moorish chess set, which my brother-in-law has in his possession, but he won't give it up.
You know how it is. All right, Moore, let's close out because of time constraint. I'd like to thank everyone for the contribution physically, spiritually, and financially. I pray Allah continues to guide us. I pray Allah continues to protect us. I pray Allah continues to shield us against all negative forces seen and unseen. And don't forget through Ali prayer. And put it into each of us. You know what I'm saying? The thought. We can create with the thought. So we want to put the thought out for healing the world. But this remedy that the Prophet brought is to heal the world, humanity, uplift fallen humanity. All rise, face the feet at a 90 degree, 45 on each side, 5 fingers in the left, 2 on the right. Repeat the Moorish American prayer.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, Father of the universe.
Father of love.
The Father
of love.
Truth.
Peace.
Freedom.
And justice.
And
justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my
Allah is
protector.
my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
In my salvation.
In my salvation.
My salvation.
By night.
By night.
And by day.
And by day.
Through his holy prophet.
Through his holy prophet.
Ali.
Through Ali.
Amen.
Amen. The great Ali.
Peace and love. Praise Allah.
Wow. Video. See what we got. Praise Allah.
Thank you.